Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to discuss the newest edition of the Senate Update Roundtable. I have a bunch of prestigious guests with us tonight, but let's go through our normal contributors and start with Lab Monkey. Absolutely happy to have you join us tonight and be a part of this conversation.
Glad to be here, Ram.
The next one of our regular contributors is Brax Nightbinder, who is always ready to do one of these. Thank you for being here and introduce yourself.
Yep, happy to be here. Let's get this thing going.
And then we have a regular person within both the Alliance and within our guest circle, and also part of our production chat, and that is Zora. Thank you so much for joining us. Say a few things, Zora.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here again. Always love when I get an invite to the Senate podcast.
And one of our most important individuals within our production chat who is joining us tonight, but also very important to the guild or the alliance, is Oryx. Thank you very much, Oryx, for joining us. How are you doing tonight? I think everyone's going to enjoy hearing your voice for the first time. And now, somebody that everyone loves to hear as a regular guest on the program is Dole. Dole, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on again. Hopefully, I can impart some useful information / opinions as opposed to what I normally do.
No, you've always been a great guest, and that's why we bring you on time and time again. People want to hear your opinion. All right, so let's get started.
Wait,
we're going.
You missed one. You missed one.
Oh yes, no, I did. Sorry, I'm trying to be organized tonight.
You forgot the most awesome guy in the room.
Yes. I did not have him written down because he hadn't joined until the last second, and that was on us. And that was Awesome Guy. This is your first time on the chat. Tell us what guild you are a part of and give everyone a little background on who you are.
Yeah, it's easy to forget us backwater people, isn't it, huh? I just got done with my bubble bath outside of Yona's hut. But yeah, so I joined from Dagobah and hope I can provide a perspective of a not not hugely developed account, maybe playing for a couple of years or less at this point.
Well, so where did you come from? Like I said, I'm giving you the opportunity to really tell your history a little bit here.
Oh yeah, sure. If you want more, I joined almost 2 years ago here, the Senate. I think January 2020, and I was a returning player, and at the time, and relevant to the discussion, I took a year off the game, so returned and was like, wow, I'm number like 2,000 in my squad arena. This sucks. Let me go ahead and make a new account, and I did that, and with that took over leading the Senate Dagobah and has been there for these 2 years now.
All right, so that's going to be important for our conversation moving forward. So to start off this conversation, we're going to kind of give an overview of how this year has been for the Senate Alliance, and I'm going to hand that off to Zora. I believe he is prepared to kind of lead us through how this year has been in terms of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and the Senate Alliance. So, Zora.
Yeah, I got my notes here. I even wrote stuff down this time. It's pretty impressive. Well, it's funny though, because it's crazy to think back a over the year, really, I was going back through like announcement that Steel Wheels has made and stuff to the alliance and stuff like that, and it's impressive how much has really changed over the last year. We added 6 new guilds this year. We Exegol, Ashto, Lethal, Mortis, Jeddah, and then we just started up Ilum. And I mean, what Ilum filled up in a week and a half, 2 weeks between Brax and Drawn, leading the charge there. They filled it up real quick, and I mean, all those guilds, they started up. I know Brax and Rem were a huge part of the ones that were starter guilds. They were a huge part in driving those forward. I think was it Ashto and Mortis were the 2 that we brought in, and they joined us for that were guilds outside of the alliance, and then came in, and they'd fit in nicely with us, and they were great cultural fits and everything like that. We're super excited for all the people that all these guilds have brought to us. I mean, as an alliance overall, I mean, our server is, I hear it all the time from people, is one of the best places, one of the best knowledge bases. There's always people talking. It's not like obnoxious talking though. People are just here to chat, whether it's about the actual game or just Star Wars stuff. I mean, there's always someone willing to chat, and everyone is so friendly. It's such a great place. And I know people all the time say, if it wasn't for this alliance, they wouldn't be playing anymore. I mean, some of us have been playing this game for so long, it's crazy to think about. um, so that's just a quick overview of like the new guilds we've picked up just this year. I mean, so we're up to 21 guilds now. I mean, a few years ago, if you asked me how great that we would be up to that many, I never would have expected that. It's crazy to think about, really. Um, from like a community affairs standpoint for the alliance, I know Thunder Bunny and Phil House and the community affairs team have really been leading a lot of really cool things this year. I mean, I looked back at it, and like we had the Planet Wars like competition at the beginning of this year where everyone voted for their favorite planets. Came down to Coruscant and Mandalore. Mandalore won. And of course, we have a bunch of Mandalore people here on this podcast. So
All we do is win, no matter what.
exactly, no matter the competition, Mandalore on top, right? Um, we had our favorite Star Wars characters. I know Lab Monkey was super excited that Obi-Wan won.
Yeah.
I know
No
Rem put
comment.
together the lightsaber battle voting, and I think that what was the winner of that one? Obi-Wan and Ahsoka Tano and from Revenge of the Sith, or not Ahsoka Tano, Anakin.
No.
Can't
Yeah.
even read my own notes here.
Yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan won that, but I was really proud that Ahsoka versus Darth Maul made the final against them. Anyone who hasn't watched that series should watch it. I was really proud of that particular matchup.
I agree. For like to come from like the more cartoony series to like for that many people to like it that much, that's really a big thing, I feel like. Right now we have the ships competition going on. I mean, man, Phil House, he writes all these things each week for the competition here, and every one of them I have to read the whole thing because it's so good. So props to him for everything he does. He spends a lot of time on them, I'm sure. So I mean, just from a standpoint, we have a lot of fun things going on in the alliance. That's kind of what I was kind of just trying to recap there. We're up to 6 Sea Pit guilds now. I know Dagobah, an awesome guy leading the charge. I mean, they beat it under 200 million. I think they were the lowest ever GP guild to beat it. I don't know if any guild will ever beat what you guys beat it at. So great job for them.
There's probably someone who did.
Was there? I'd be shocked. But I mean,
Not in the alliance.
Yeah, fair.
Don't rule out Bespin. They're going to go for that. I know that guild well enough. there's other guilds within our alliance that are going to challenge that 200 GP.
Yeah, and then I mean, there's a lot of stuff always going on behind the scenes. For your officers, always are chatting, working together. Um, the security council, who's like the bigger heads of the whole alliance, and your recruiting team. I mean, your recruiting team is working nonstop always for your guild. If you ever get a chance, reach out to them and tell them thanks, because those guys, I mean, all hours of the day, all hours of the night, they're getting pings from people coming in the landing bay, and they're always there. They're always there to help, and they're really what the engine that keeps your guild like together. They're bringing in the people whenever you have spots. Um, I know I'm the head of recruitment, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for the recruitment team, but it really is a great team. They all work together. I think it's a really big part of what helps the alliance keep running, and I think the recruitment team is definitely a spitting image of, as you've had on many of the other podcasts, kind of what we feel like the alliance should be about. Um, so I think that's kind of my recap of the year for the alliance.
And shout out to Cesaro, because he's definitely the best whore we've ever had. I mean, head of recruiting.
Well, so I'm going to run through everyone here really quickly. Keep your comments short, but if you want to add anything to this year-end review for the Alliance, uh, I will start with Thol. Let's go with you. How have you felt like the Alliance has operated this year?
I mean, it's really amazing to me how smoothly run the Alliance has been, considering all of the additions, with all of the players that we've had, the guilds that we've had. It's just, it's crazy to me to think that there's so many people involved, but everyone has a similar, like-minded idea about what the alliance should be and where it should be headed. And I mean, there's never a discussion that gets, I don't know, unruly between, certain members or guilds or things like that, if there's something to be discussed. And everybody just seems to always have the best interest of the alliance first. And I think that's the great thing about our alliance. And so it just has really, it's been pretty impressive to see us grow like we have and it not cause dissension, because when I've been in this alliance from the beginning and even before this alliance began in its current state, and we've seen it fall apart one time because, for lack of a better term, people just couldn't get along. Can't we all just get along? Well, it's amazing how well we get along, to be honest. So I think that's a tribute to the leaders of the alliance, the security council, the chancellor, and just everybody involved. It's been pretty astonishing how smoothly it runs.
No, I absolutely agree. So I'm going to throw the same question to Oryx. Tell us, do you have anything you want to add as to the state of the alliance?
Nothing a whole lot except just to build off what Thol said a little bit, and just how even the nebulous state of the game, ups and downs, the alliance has stayed in an up. Like, no matter what happened in the game and whatever CG decides to do when their great powers, the alliance has withstood all the stuff going on, and it's pretty great.
All right, awesome guy. Let's hear your opinion on this.
Yeah, well, for me, I guess one of the big great things, kind of with the cooperation, is just all the knowledge that gets shared. And so even talking about our push to clear challenge pit, we used so many resources. It took the advice from members and officers in Ryloth and Scaroth and Endor, who finished it, and were able to figure out like the ways we can cut corners. And okay, as we're pushing, like okay, like so we got through phase 3. Now how do we get through phase 4, and what squads can we move where? And so just all of the knowledge that's around has really helped us flourish. And like our specific guild, our little corner of the Senate would not be where it is without all of that other input too.
Okay, Brax, why don't you give us your opinion on how things have gone for the last year?
No, I think it's been a great year, and I think I kind of want to just echo a little bit of what Zorro said, in that the recruiting team has been so great, as far as working to keep the influx of people coming in and keeping guilds full. And the other thing is we just created the Alliance recruiting team, so it's kind of an overview team that is I don't know, more kind of on call. So if a guild is to the point where they're struggling and need some assistance to fill some ranks, or if they got like a mass exodus or whatever, like we can hopefully jump in and help give a hand where we can, and help to oversee the recruiting structure and make sure that things are still going smooth and everything like that. So it's been a great year. It's hard to disagree with anything that anybody said so far, in that there's a lot of good things going on, and a lot of great knowledge being shared, and a lot of great communication, and everybody working together. So can't wait to see it happen in the next year as well.
I agree with you. It's been, to me, a very fantastic, shall we say, push forward within the Alliance. I think we've done a lot of great things. We figured out how to manage such a large group of players and do it in a way that is fair and equitable to all. So I'm really excited about the future of the Alliance. I'm really looking forward to the future of the Alliance. I'm going to now ask our last member that has not answered, and that's Lab Monkey.
Yeah, so obviously, I echo everything that you guys say. I would like to shout out a specific member of the Alliance for really kind of going above and beyond and being extremely generous in the process. So you guys talked about how a bunch of knowledge and resources have been shared across our Alliance. So we have one member, and his name, forgive me for butchering it, is Megalitarios Malakas. It'll be Omega from here on out. He's an officer in Ryloth, and he actually developed the Omega bot. So if any of you listeners have not heard or tried this bot, I definitely encourage you to do so. It has a couple of really cool features, among them the GAC Scout feature. So with GAC becoming so very much more important, as we will talk about here shortly, I'm sure, this is going to be an invaluable tool for you to do better than you would without it. And the reason that I say that Omega was so generous with it is because he is currently that specific feature, the GAC scouting feature, is a Patreon feature. He's releasing it to everybody in SWOGA as long as they're his patron. Unless you are part of the Senate Alliance, if you use his bot commands in the Senate Alliance server, it is free. So please, if you get the chance, make sure you thank him in community chat or wherever you may see him in the Alliance server, because that is an extremely generous and extremely useful tool that he has provided to all of us, and it just goes to show how awesome our Alliance is and how our members kind of go above and beyond to really help each other out.
Well, I think that's a great point. We don't just have an alliance that is playing the game. We have a family that works together. We're also trying as an alliance to make our own mark within this game. So a lot of those players are, we have a lot of contributors that are doing a lot more than people understand behind the scenes. So thank you to all of those contributors. So moving on, I'm going to next push this conversation over to the elephant in the room, and that's the recent changes that CG is making between GAC and Arena. So that I'm handing over to you, Lab. Let's hear the story.
Okay, sure. So, unless you've been living under a rock this past week or week and a half, whenever this gets published, we are having some significant changes to the game and the way that it will be played by everyone. It's actually, I can't think of a much larger change to the game short of completely changing fundamental mechanics about it, which I don't think CG would ever do. So the squad arena that has been our bread and butter in terms of crystal income for the past 6 years now is actually no longer going to award crystals starting on December 8th. Those crystals are going to be moved out of Squad Arena. That is going to be uh, a much less important part of the game from now on. So for any of you who routinely, spent 90 to 120 minutes climbing every single day or night to get that crystal payout, that is going away. You are getting that time back if you so desire. And of course, you may be thinking, wait, they're taking all these crystals away. Why are you not in a rage? Well, they're removing them and they are redistributing them to a different game mode, which happens to be my favorite game mode in the game. And it's the game mode that I think without it, the game would have died probably two years ago. That is Grand Arena Championships. So it's a massive, massive overhaul of the game in general. There is so much to be said about it. I'm not going to say all of it in one fell swoop. In fact, I'm going to keep everything very, very general here. I will be, a quick plug, I will be releasing a more specific guide on how to navigate these changes in one of my Just the Tips episodes that should release here in a couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. But at its core, basically, the crystal income should be either about the same or better for most players. And there is a specific few players that will not be the case for, and I'm sure we'll discuss that. But exciting changes coming to SWOGA. I think less time intensive for most players who climb Squad Arena every night. And if you can't tell, I'm very excited that my favorite game mode, the game mode that I typically do the best in, is going to be the place where I get to earn my crystal income and help to progress my roster. So that is a very, very general overview. There's a lot more to talk about, but I'm going to hand it back to Rem right now so that we can kind of spread the love around.
All right. So the next person whose opinion I want to hear about is from, let's go with Oryx. What do you think about that? How do you feel about the changes to the crystal income and the changes from Tournament Wars from Arena to GAC?
I mean, basically same boat as Lab. I love Grand Arena. I always will. pretty much always played Grand Arena, even 3v3s. I'm a fan of, and I've just never really gotten big into Squad Arena. So, like for me, basically, I'll be able to get a whole lot more crystals for the thing that I like to do. Plus, with the
Well,
Omicron stuff coming up, that might make some of the stuff easier.
so expound on that a little bit. You said more crystals for the thing you like to do. What about the change makes it better?
Uh, well, it's almost like passive income to me because it's the thing I'm already doing. I'm already engaging in Grand Arena, so I'm just gonna get more rewards passively for a thing that I'm already spending my time doing.
And you weren't able to engage in arena at that same level?
Not really, because in Arena, I'm stuck with just one team. It's a fun team. It's kind of efficient, but there's always those walls that I'd keep hitting, and I just couldn't advance in Arena. Like, I was able to get Jedi Luke not too long ago, and that helped me climb under 100. But then there's this wall of Sith Eternals that I don't quite have the modding or the team composition or whatever to break through Sith Eternal. So I'm stuck. I just can't do anything. Grand Arena, I get to use a little more than just 5 characters. It's just
That's fair.
always been more fun. Plus, I have a weird wide roster, so I get to use things like Gear 12 Kit Fisto and make it work.
Completely understand. All right, so the next person, then we will go to Thol.
Yeah. So initially, my thought about it was, okay, this is it. I'm done. I don't want to, because I'm someone that's like, oh, this is the way it's been, because I'm a day one player. I started playing November 2015. It's always been this way for me for the past 6 years, and it's just like, oh, now we want to change. Nah, I'm good. I'm out. And so I started thinking about it more, and one of the things that I hate about this game is having to carve an hour or 2 hours of my life out a night to get to the top of arenas for both fleet and squad arena. And now, especially with the way my schedule is with work and family and everything else, now with it being related to GACs, I can do that whenever it works for me. Um, so probably the thing that I'm most upset about it with right now is that now I still have to climb fleet. So I wish that fleet was the same way that this is going to be, and it's just going to be would all be GAC. But yeah, I mean I think it's going to be really good because it doesn't. People that hate GAC are like, oh, I hate GAC. I hate that mode. I don't want to play it. Yeah. It turns out that you do not have to win very much, especially when you're at the upper GP levels. You do not have to win very much in order to get the same or even more crystals than what you had were getting before. So, to be honest, it's a really big quality of life thing, especially for me. They always talk about quality of life updates, and I think that it's great. I can't wait for it. I like GAC as well. And I don't think it's going to be something where, it's going to be overly tiresome or tedious or anything like that. The other thing that I was thinking about earlier today is that this is going to affect a group of people, probably not anybody that's in here because we know the importance of these things, but people that don't have mod depth are going to be in trouble, I think, with GAC, with this new system, because you can't just take your best mods, put them on your arena team, and then just move them around for TB and move them around for raids and things like that. You have to have good mods on multiple teams across the board. So people that do not have good mods are going to realize the importance of having mod depth on their squad. On their whole roster, not just one squad. So Those people might, find that it's a little bit annoying, especially if they're getting to one all the time in their squad arenas. But I mean, now you don't have to have an arena shard chat if you don't want to. Or the other thing too is this is going to help the arena shard turn into the thing that we've always wanted, which is a sandbox. You can put a team in there, and it doesn't matter if you fall or not. I mean, yeah, there's some rewards tied to climbing and the squad arena in the future, but not really, and not really stuff that's terribly important. So, it can be the sandbox that we've been asking for forever, and maybe that was part of the reason behind this as well, without them having to rewrite the game to make a sandbox. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a great change all the way around.
Well, so I like your optimism, and I am going to eventually say have a lot of your same sentiments. But before I give my statements, I want to hear from Awesome Guy. Are you now back with us? Okay, that's a silence. So let's go with Zorro. How about you tell us what are your feelings on this?
I mean, so GAC was one of the things that I kind of had pushed off lately because with conquest and arena climbing and all that sort of stuff, it was like the one thing I kind of chose to leave behind, I guess, because I felt that everything else was just taking up too much time. So I was like, okay, this is where I'm gonna cut back a little so I can not be spending as much time with the game. Um, so I'm kind of excited to get back into the game mode because I really liked it. But I know you guys, it's like a 2-hour arena climb every day, and I'm paying 100 crystals to refresh because, yeah, I finished one yesterday, but today I'm at 80 already, and I need to climb now, and I have my 2-hour limit to climb because that's what the shard rules are and stuff like that. So it's going to be nice not to have like the shard rules to follow and, oh, yeah, I could climb quicker, but I can't hit this guy because his payout's right after mine, and I can't hit that guy. And as the meta has kind of like become a little more stale, and they've kind of like all the GA or all the GLs can kind of beat each other and stuff like that. Like our shard has just gotten huge, so it's like you're dodging halfway your climb, you're dodging other people who have a chat within or a payout within an hour or two of you. So it's going to be nice not to have to worry about that anymore. And then I'm also excited from a guild standpoint. Um, our people will be hopefully more people will be taking part in Grand Arena, so they're going to be picking up better what are good counters for territory wars and things like that. They're going to get used to using their full teams, and they're going to get used to undermanning teams that they know they need to, and they're going to try some things like that. Um, Especially some of the bigger accounts, because like Thol mentioned, if you lose a couple here and there, you're probably still going to be able to pull in a decent amount of crystals. So you might be willing to take that chance in Grand Arena to, oh, I'm going to take my nest in versus Padme. I've never tried it, but I'm going to do it now because this is how I might win. Um, so I think it's going to be good for the guilds in general and just more people using more of their roster. Hopefully, it'll make territories wars more efficient and things like that.
No, absolutely. So Awesome Guy, do we have you back? All right, so now I will allow Brax. What's your opinion on these recent changes?
Well, I know as a whole, a lot of people freaked out when they first heard it, and you know, in the recruiting channels, you see all these mass exodus and people retiring and all that kind of stuff. But I tend to think it was an overreaction for a lot of people. Um, you know, I'm a person that I have never really been into squad arena. I usually hang around 50 in my shard, but I auto everything and I get to like 50 around there, sometimes 40, sometimes 35, but just by hitting auto just to get in the necessities. but it's never really been a game mode that I was really bought into. So knowing that I didn't have to spend time to try to ever get that now is great. GAC, it's enjoyable. Um, I think there's, especially like I'm a legacy player. Like I started like in December of 2015, so my roster has a lot of bloat, which I think, I think CG has done something the past 6 months that have actually benefited people that have played the game for a long time. So, part of the territory wars changes have kind of bought into that, where it's kind of helped out those rosters that have a little more bloat. And so I think this is going to also benefit, rosters that might have a little more bloat, because you're going to have you have a deeper bench. So some of you know, these baby whale guilds that have very streamlined rosters, that they have is these great meta teams. Like they're gonna be up against people that potentially have a somewhat deeper roster and teams that maybe they never focused on. So I think it leaves a lot of opportunity. There's still a lot that we have yet to learn from it, and I'm sure there's going to be things down the road. But overall, I think it's going to be exciting.
No, I completely agree, and so I'll throw down my opinion here. I think you hit on a couple of great points. First off, something that Lab didn't talk about as part of these changes is a change to the matchmaking and how they're going to start taking your effectiveness within GAC more into account. So it's not going to be just GP based. It's going to be about your effectiveness within the environment, and you should be facing up in more entertaining matchups over time. It's going to take a couple months before that builds. So I'm looking forward to that. As someone who has both a high level account and shall we say, a low level account that I've just been playing off and on over years, I can tell you that arena, if you have ever taken any time off, you have you just understand that you're not going to get any credit. But the new scenario is allowing for even those style accounts to at least be competitive within that new matchmaking style to start getting crystal above and beyond. If you think about it, within a given day, only 24 people could ever get the 500 crystal. Majority of players in this game were sitting probably in that range that you were, perhaps, that between somewhere 25 to 100. This gives them an opportunity to really fight for legitimate crystal rewards in a fun, engaging environment, and makes that environment, because I agree with almost what everyone said, that GAC is a much more entertaining and engaging mode that doesn't require us all to give up a singular hour of our day. We can play it within what works for us over the course of a day. So it's probably a better way to distribute those crystals and keep. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping the narrative becomes. I don't know. I'll throw this out there. Does anyone disagree with that general take?
So I think what people are going to need to realize and come to grips with is that, especially the people who were doing really well during this previous GAC matchmaking, is that the way that this ladder system is designed is that on average, pretty much everybody is going to be going 6-6. What's going to happen is the first few months you are going to end up either being better than the people you're matched up with, or the other half will be a bit worse than the people who they've been matched up with. But the skill rating will try to find you matches against people who perform just about the same as you do. And so after about 3 or 4 seasons, 6 and 6 is going to be a pretty standard season for almost everybody. And this includes the really good players, because what's going to end up happening is your skill rating is going to match you with other players who are really good. And so, yeah, 6 and 6, guys, get used to it, because people. So there's there's people out there who have had insane win streaks because combination of gaming the matchmaking system and also being excellent players and just kind of beating up on other accounts that are deficient in one or both of those things. That is not your yes.
No, you're that player.
Oh yes. That's me. Yes. Sorry. I thought something important was going on. Yes. Yes. I was one of those players. So yeah, we're all going to have to come to grips with the fact that it's going to be different, and we are going to lose quite a few more matches than we used to. And conversely, some people who never tried or who are really bad at Grand Arena, you guys are going to end up winning more matches than you're used to. So really what it's going to come down to is a combination of your roster and your skill level as a player. Those two things are going to basically determine which division you hang out in. And of course, the higher division you hang out in, the better your crystal rewards will be, and the faster you can progress your roster. Because ultimately, that is what CG is making this change to be all about. They don't want anybody to hold back. They want everybody to progress their roster. They want you to have an incentive to do that, to apply all the R8s, all the R9s, and for it to not really penalize you. And for the only limit to your roster being your wallet. So, yeah, there you go.
Well, that was an interesting way to enter this conversation. Let's move over to our final conversation, and I wanted to run through everyone. And let's start off with Oryx. Oryx, where do you feel the state of the game is at right now, and where do you think it is going in the future?
At the moment, because it's like a big transitional period, it's almost hard to tell if it's up or down, like at this very moment. But if I was to, I guess, theorize, I think it'll be on an up coming up. Just with this, mainly with this GAC change, I think more people will be happier with, what the game's going to be versus what it currently is. And I think there's something about like a creative freedom or whatever within CG that was allowing them to put out these characters that are just now coming out. And I think that's kind of a good thing, adding some of these kind of fan favorite characters like Starkiller coming out. That's going to get somewhat decent engagement, I think. So, I don't know, I think the state of the game is about to be pretty good.
All right, so if they had to add a character, what would be the character you want?
Starkiller was my character that I would want, actually.
So you're getting your dream character.
Sort of. I don't want to go too in-depth about it, but this is the first Starkiller. I prefer the second one more.
Okay,
But that's
fair.
that's like, Revan versus Darth Revan, same character but different points in time.
Understand. Absolutely. All right, so Brax, I'm going to give you the next stab at that question. How do you feel about the state of the game, and where do you think it's going into its future?
It's obviously a lot of it's speculation, but I feel like we are kind of headed in a good direction. I know there's a lot of pretty awesome characters that are rumored to be coming out, and it sounds like a lot of the rumors, a lot of the leaks that were released seem to be coming true so far. So, and I know a lot of people are super excited for Mara Jade. So, assuming that actually happens, like that would be fantastic. Um, but I think that I think that CG is diversifying themselves a little bit more, and so it's no longer like, hey, get as many GLs as you can, and you just basically strong arm your way through the game. I think that by adding the Omicrons and those sort of things, that they're adding more wrinkles into the game, and so even if you're not a spender and you don't have every GL, um, with GAC being so important and everything now, like I think that you're going to be able to sort of play with your rosters a little bit and try different things in different aspects of the game and get different kind of results. So I feel like CG is kind of seeing that, we need to give a little bit back to other play. I mean, obviously they're always going to cater to the whales, but I think they know, like, we have a lot of people that maybe aren't quote whales, but we still need to sort of start giving them a bone and letting them be engaged just as much.
Well, so I think a lot of people would say that's an optimistic opinion, and I appreciate you throwing that down. I think we all need optimistic opinions. But so, with that being said, I'm going to throw this to Lab Monkey. Same question: future of the game and state of the game.
So it's hard to tell. I don't want to color this with my own opinion too much, because sometimes my opinions are not right. But
Pineapple
my
on pizza. Pineapple on pizza.
that one is
deep,
correct.
deep dish.
That one is also correct. No, but it's hard for me to see this not being good for the game, and there's a couple of reasons for that. The first is the fact that I think that when they released Conquest, um, it was a shock to a lot of people how much of a time sink that was. And I think a lot of people quit and or burned out on the game because of the time commitment to both that and the other various modes, like increasing the number of zones and territory wars. And of course, Squad Arena continues to become more and more onerous as more and more people get the new GLs, so it takes longer to climb. So I can tell you from my personal experience, I was getting much less time to do fun things like making a podcast or, other Swogo related things that weren't actually me playing the game, doing the grindy things. So, with all that being said, I think that's the reason why I think this is bringing it back, the pendulum swinging back to where it was in terms of time commitment. And now the more engaged and competitive players can choose to spend more time on it, and the ones who are kind of like semi-competitive, who don't want to miss out on the good stuff, but also don't want to be chained, to a specific grindy mode for 2 hours a day. They're also going to be able to hit that sweet spot as well. So I think overall it's a good change. Obviously, we'll need to wait and see. Um, I know that there are some accounts, especially the younger accounts, especially those who went out and spent a whole lot of money to get a GL in a very young shard. Those accounts are going to be, I mean, I can't even imagine having spent a lot of money to do that, thinking I was setting myself up for long-term success and then having this update drop. So there are going to be some people who are very disappointed at the new changes. I think overall it's going to be good, and not just because of the time. I think also because CG was very smart in providing real incentives for us to want to chase new characters that aren't necessarily GLs. So um, it's already been touched on earlier tonight, I think, but a broad roster is going to be necessary to compete, especially at the very top levels of GAC, where you're going to earn the most crystals. And I think that moving those crystals over to GAC and giving you an incentive to chase those marquee tunes that aren't a GL but still pack a punch and help you beat those A tier teams. That was smart of them, and I think they're gonna financially. I think they're gonna reap the rewards. I think a lot more players are going to be willing to shell out money for characters that aren't a GL but still significantly augment their roster. So, in terms of game health and game longevity, CG making money is important to both of those, and I think they've set themselves up well for that. So, I'm optimistic.
Well, we'll see moving forward. I think we may have Awesome Guy back. I would love to
Yeah.
hear his.
Hey,
I would, yes, nice to have you back. I would love to hear your opinion on this question. How do you feel about the state of the guild, and where do you think the future of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes is moving towards forward?
Yeah, sure. And if I can start a little bit piggybacking off of that, like that younger account, maybe that kind of sub 4 or 5 million account who gets those top arena payouts, right? For them, and we've a fourth or a third of our guild, and Dagobah kind of falls into that category. Like this feels like a negative because they're getting that immediate reduction of crystals. And maybe for them too, Conquest, putting these great characters as those, like getting them, you have to have this huge roster, the six, maybe around 6 million or more to get them in 3 months. And if you're under formula, you're just locked out. And that's a lot of our guild. So that's been a negative. And so some of these changes, and for competitive players like that, it probably doesn't feel so great. But yeah, and that's just unfortunate because that kind of player, we are in the minority, like the very small minority of people who play the game. But we're also the group of players who can adapt to these changes and will adapt and will figure out the next best thing to get the best for us. And so while the state of the game might not feel so great there, certainly getting time back from arena, I think is huge, right? Like that's not just time in the game if you're doing everything anyway. I know, right, Lab said getting more time to do other Galaxy of Heroes related things that he hasn't been able to do. Well, that's also probably for so many people getting time back just to do other things in life that you want to do. And so that work, game, life balance, that's a plus. Not doing those arena climbs every day. And so I think that's a great thing for the game itself. We get to spend more time doing the things we want to do, less time having to do some of the things we don't like to do, and getting rewarded for that, right? And so for those younger competitive players, you want to get rewarded for the time you input, and this is going to benefit that. And other people are in the same boat you are. Yeah, and so generally, and personally, I feel pretty good kind of about where the game is. There have been some rough changes, and there's destined to be more rough changes, right? That's kind of how this goes. There's the cycle of bad and good and okay, and it will keep on going. There will be something else that comes in a few months that we don't like, but there's going to be something else that really excites us. Some character, some game mode, or something that we really love, and that's why we play to enjoy those exciting things while we deal with maybe the not so great.
So you hit a lot of you hit on a lot of points.
Yeah, sorry.
No. That's why we have so many voices on these sorts of podcasts. I play both a high level, not to the level of Dole and Lab, those guys are playing at a much higher competitive level than I do. But I also read a lot of lower game. And I can tell you, I saw this coming as soon as they dropped the changes, uh, basically the Millennium. The moment you were allowing people to get that far ahead of a charter, it made it uncompetitive for anyone who was trying to come in and, shall we say, spend the Dolphins were they dropped down a pack that was whale level and made Chart Arena something that any free to play player could not ever be competitive. And I knew they were working towards this. I predicted it. I think they dropped it down about 2 years ago, and I predicted that they were going to make this move. And I'm not saying I'm Nostradamus. It's just it was obvious it was going to be a necessary, and I think it was a necessary move. So I'm all for it. Even early players will find themselves in a position to be able to develop their rosters in a way to still have advantages for crystals. But new rosters that want to free to play will still be able to be competitive within the environment they created. I think it was a very necessary change. I I personally am all for it. And I'm one of those that's part of an arena chat. Fortunately, my arena chat is kind of on board and thinking the same things. We see this as more of a camaraderie issue. We understand that we're probably just going to net more with the changes they're going to make to rewards. We're going to net more gear that we can change for relics, but it's a good, in my personal opinion, a healthy thing for the alliance or for the game moving forward. I It's going to be rough for the next few months. There's going to be a lot of people negative about it. There will be some people affected heavily, and I completely understand their position. And there's going to be a lot of people that honestly benefited. Those that, have taken some time off and have been stuck in the 500s within their arena that now could be competitive and hopefully net themselves more crystals per day based on activity. I think it's going to reward people's activity in the game. I have intentionally saved Thole for the final person on this discussion. So, Thole, tell us, what is your opinion on the state of the game? And I saved you because you're one of the original members of this alliance, so you should always have the last word on the state of the game. What do you think the state of the game is, and how do you feel like things are going to be?
Well, everybody said kind of a lot of what I think about it as well. But the one thing that I think we need to make clear here is that none of us are paid by CG, because everybody here has had pretty much positive things to say about these changes, and obviously, especially in the accounts that are at the level of where my account is, since I've been around since day one. There's a lot of negativity. There are a ton of accounts for sale right now, which obviously we're not paid by CG if I'm talking about that, because that's taboo. But yeah, I mean, I think for those people that don't like change, this is terrible. For those people that can adapt to change and are willing to give it a try, I think most people are going to find that this is 8 million times better than what we've had, especially for quality of life issues. The other thing that I think about this too is that it's also going to help with the power creep issue in this game. Forever we
Yeah,
would have the whales in the meta, in the arena shards, that would start complaining when the quote outsiders would come into their, top 10, top 20 little range. And so when that would happen and everyone would kind of slowly get caught up F2P, then the P2P guys were like, okay, when's the next meta coming so I can keep these guys out? Well, now and every time they come out with a new meta, the power creep keeps going up and up and up. But now by doing it this way and through GAC, now, like someone else said earlier, I can't remember who said it earlier, was talking about how people, I think it was Lab, was talking about how the people are going to be more willing to spend on marquee tunes now because it's roster depth that's the thing now, and not just one super fast, full R9 roster with all 6E or 6A mods on everything, that's going to get you your crystals. So it's going to help to diversify everybody's roster. It's going to make everybody's roster better in each guild for TW. And there's so many people that are out there too that are like, oh, I really like TW, but I hate GSC. Well, I hate to break it to you, but TW is nothing more than a guild-wide GAC at this point. That's what it's turned into. It is a guild-wide GAC. It didn't used to be that. We used to have people that would, in our officer chat, that would complain about other people and say, this is TW, this is not GAC, the things don't apply. Well, it didn't apply because only the top 25% of your roster got used in a TW in a guild like ours. Now, that is not the case. And for someone that likes GAC like myself, I love the way TW is now because I get to use way more of my tunes in a TW than I used to before. So I think that people, one, need to give it a chance. And I'm talking to those people that are higher GP people that are like, oh, I don't want to do this. I hate GAC. I don't want to play. Well, guess what? If you look at the math, you probably only need to win like really 2 or 3 times, maybe 2 or 3 rounds. And if you lose the first couple, you're going to get knocked down. So winning's going to be a lot easier. And there's not going to be the shard chats anymore where people talk about, hey, I need to climb. Can you move this guy back or whatever? Don't hit me. I'm got something going on tonight, so leave me there. Now your quote shard chat is going to be talking to your opponent, and you can say, hey, look, I don't like to play with GAC very much. Can you set an easy defense for me? I'll get this win, and then the next guy come up with 2 against, I'll set an easy defense, and they can get a win. People can collaborate that way too. So there are ways to still get what you need to expand your roster and not like have to fret over this thing. And it's going to be so much better for just life in general because you don't have to set aside that exact hour of time every day. I don't know how excited I am. You guys know how I am to not have to be picking up my phone in the middle of a movie and hitting auto in arena because I want to get up to the top and or just miss it because I'm in the middle of doing something else on a Friday or a Saturday night, whatever. So from that aspect, I think again, I'm not a Nostradamus or anything like that, but I think the direction of the game is a very positive one with these changes. But right now, currently, it's in a big state of flux just because you've got so many older players that are just like, I'm not doing this. So anyways, but that's kind of my feeling about where it's going. I think it's going to be a very good thing. And like I said, the thing that I'm most irritated by it is that they haven't done it with ships yet. That does sound like that something like that might be coming, but they have to figure out how to do it. And you didn't ask me who the favorite tune or thing would be that I would bring to the game, and so mine is actually not a tune. I've been saying that I want this for like maybe 2 years now, is give me a resistance bomber to go with
Yes.
my freaking Radis fleet, and I will beat every ship out there, including Executor, because that fleet could be amazing if you had something to just take. If it was a pre-taunt tank where you just go in and it had taunt to start the battle and you couldn't get around it, you could beat Executor with it, hands down. And all it takes is one ship. So
That's why
that's
they
what I would
did
want to see in
release
a
it.
Yeah.
game. Exactly.
Well, so I only asked that to one person, and I asked it because I was killing time because I wanted awesome guy to get into this conversation.
Well, I had to get my resistance bomber in there, so that's why I brought it up
So
again.
You guys don't understand about Thol and his resistance bomber. Okay, this is something that we hear about all the time.
so
Doesn't it have
So
like
now you
whole
guys hear about it
page?
too.
all right. I did neglect one person, Thol. Unfortunately, you're not going to be the last person on this conversation.
Well, thank God somebody
Zoro,
more exciting can finish it up.
yep, Zoro. Let's hear your opinion on this conversation, and then we're going after Zoro makes his comments. I want to hear, and we'll close it out afterwards. I want to hear everyone's what they'd like to see next year. But Zoro, so answer the current conversation and then tell us what you would like to see happen this next year.
Okay. So I know we've pretty much all talked on the Grand Arena's change and stuff like that, but the thing that I'm still the most excited about, and I mean I have a pretty big roster, is the gear change they made. I mean, it makes the game so much more exciting to me. I can put my gear characters up to gear 12 and I don't have to feel as bad about it. I mean, not as many of the new characters because they need the Chirotex, but I can gear up these old characters. I can build out my roster and they can be semi-useful at gear 12 at least, especially with the new Grand Arena and how many teams you're going to need. Um, that to me is like, that changed the game for me in a lot of ways. Got me excited about building teams again. The new characters look a lot of fun. The kits aren't like, there's not paragraphs of walls of text within each of their kits. They're pretty simple, but they sound fun. I like that. And I mean, that might come back to the great nerf, as we call it, and that change. And now they can make these kits like this, and they can make fun characters. I think that's another sign of that the game is going in the right direction. We're not getting things way too overcomplicated with ignoring all these different things and oh, I have to have this much defense and ignore that and things like that. Um, and the other thing to kind of keep in mind is we've kind of been in this lull area of Star Wars content, kind of. Yeah, we've had Bad Batch, but I mean, coming up in the next few months, in the next year, we have a ton of Star Wars content coming. So I think they're kind of prepping and gearing up for that to come, and we're gonna get an influx of characters that are hot on the screen right now or just in these new shows and stuff like that. I think we're kind of in a kind of gearing up for a good time to come, I guess.
All right. So, what do you want to see come? What are you looking forward to?
I don't even know. Yeah, I'm just excited. Like, I'm excited that like the new Boba Fett looks really fun. I'm excited to. It's really interesting how they've added the Omicrons and how are they really going to affect like territory wars and stuff like that. Um, I know Conquest has gotten a little tougher, I guess is the way to put it. But I'm excited to see like him come to the game. I'm interested to see which characters they bring from the shows and if they still like jump to different eras or if we're gonna just get like a stream of ones that are from like the shows and stuff like that. Um, I know we already have Obi-Wan and we just got the new Obi-Wan, General Kenobi and stuff like that. But I'm really excited for his show to come, so I'm hoping that we get an even cooler one with the show when it comes out.
That I can agree with that. How about awesome guy? What are you looking forward to for the next year? What do you want to see to come to the game?
Yeah, well, the number one thing I'm looking forward to is not spending hours every day piloting an arena. That sounds amazing. And I can't stress that enough. That is by far the right the most exciting thing for me right now. As far as a change to the game, well, I'm certainly also looking forward to spending more time in GAC. But for new stuff, who knows? I think actually CG might have hinted at it today in their dev interview, looking at maybe changing the map up in GAC, which could maybe or potentially change the map up in territory war, just to get something new and fresh, and a change of strategy, and how we approach that new kind of marquee game mode.
That would be interesting. How about you, Oryx? What are you looking forward to? I mean, what would you like to see changed within the game moving forward? What?
I think more ship stuff could be fun, actually, because ships are, pretty decent part of Star Wars. I mean, it takes place in space most of the time. There's just we've got this collection of ships, but not a whole lot to do with it. There's the ship arena. There's the table that probably most of us cleared 2 years ago, and then a little bit in TW and GAC. But there's opportunities that they could make for us to do more stuff with our ships, because ships are kind of neat.
All right, Brax. Same question. What do you feel?
I kind of like Oryx's answer there with the addition of more ways to use ships, and I know at one point they hinted having vehicles of some sort. So whether that would be like speeders or something like that, like that would be kind of cool, where you could use ships potentially like in more of a like on planet battle instead of being in space somewhere. Um, I don't know. It would just be kind of cool there. The thing that I wish they would add though, is maybe some of those daily challenges that we have that we've all probably beat a long time ago. Like how about you add another tier to that and have something else that we can beat and get maybe some better rewards. And I know they updated the rewards a little bit on some of those, but um, I think they could easily just add a next tier to that and give us another thing to do, in those daily challenges.
Okay, so Thol, I know you already said a little bit of what you wanted to see added to the game, but I'm going to give you a second opportunity to kind of what would you like to see the future of Star Wars be?
Well, first of all, we need talking about the ships thing. Can we have, for the love of God, ship loadouts? For the love of God,
Well,
Yes.
please.
yes.
I mean that goes without saying. You don't have to do anything else with ships right now. Don't need a ship raid yet. Give me fleet loadouts, and I will be happy for at least a few months, and then we can get a ship raid after that. It would be cool if there were like vehicles, where General Veers is driving the AT-AT, and you got to use that in part of a vehicle raid where you use ships and ground vehicles to achieve a victory or whatever. That would be kind of cool. The other character that I would like to see come to the game, besides my beloved Resistance Bomber, that's never going to come because Radis would be OP, is I would love to see for the first time in this game a toon that is both dark side and light side, and he converts from a dark side toon to a light side toon in the middle of battle. So like the one that I was thinking of with this was Crosshair. So he starts off as a dark side toon. he has both Imperial Trooper and Clone Trooper tags. And when you get to a certain point in the battle, if you can convert him, doing whatever it may be to do it, if you can convert him back to a Clone Trooper and make him light side, then Bad Batch becomes even more OP. And
Well,
something like that would be really cool.
so they have a mechanic for that already. That's in
It's like
light
JML where he transfigures.
no, no, I was gonna say light side uh, TB, where you're converting your ship into offense or defensive mode. They could
Oh,
do that.
right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The mechanics there, where you can choose whether you want him to be in a light side or dark side mode, and that changes how his abilities.
Yeah.
The,
Kind of like Cam, where Cam switches from a tank to an attacker.
Mhm.
But instead of being able to switch back and forth, it would be something where he's a good tune where he's dark side to start with, but not as good as when he's able. Like, it's one of those things where if you're going up against that team and it's on defense, you better kill Crosshair before he gets to turn to light side, or he's gonna like destroy you. Kind of thing.
Well, I would say it's the same thing as within those ships. You know, you start out pretty much neutral, and you have to choose which way you want him to go. And
Mm-hmm.
Crosshair started off as light side. He went to dark side, and now he's, well, what, neutral? Do we know what he really is now?
Well, that's
I
what I was
like
going to
where
say. We don't know what he is, but yeah, when we
I
find
like
out
where
what
your
he is,
I like where your brain's going. That's really great. All right, so I left the last for this question to Lab. What do you want to see? This is your chat. You are the man of the Senate update. Tell us what you want to see next year.
I thought he was just the tip of the Senate update. I mean, it's the body that supports the tip that's the important part.
Yeah. He's the whole eggplant.
All right, so if I had to give my answer first, I would have said ship loadouts, and I would have said new map for territory wars and GAC. But in addition to those, I think that there is a possibility, perhaps, that mid to late next year, CG introduces the ability for us to challenge somebody in a grand arena type match. Like on your ally list, maybe a guildmate, maybe if you just have their ally code and you can, and both people accept. I think the Speed GAC with the devs kind of laid the groundwork for something like that. And I think that since Grand Arena is so important now, I think that it would make sense if CG gave us a place where we could kind of fine tune those strategies, as well as be able to kind of reinforce how important having certain characters is on your roster. That might induce people to spend more on those characters. I think that it would be really good for community engagement as well. So yeah, to the list of territory war and GAC map changes. I would like to see after the dust settles and after the matchmaking, sort of shakes out and everybody's going 6-6 every season. I'd like to see us have the ability to do a no stakes GAC match against a player of our choosing. I mean, even if it costs 25 crystals from each player, that way it's not super server meltdown mode or whatever. I would like to see that change a lot. I think that would kind of take Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes to the next level in terms of how fun, engaging, and how player friendly it is. And I think it would be a win-win for CG if they can figure out to do that. The one other thing that I would like to see sometime this year, and I just completely lost my train of thought. I know it had something to do with Grand Arena, uh, and I don't remember what it is. Oh, yes, now I do. So Omicrons. Certain Omicrons are only active in certain game modes. I would love to see an ability to test out uh, whether it's in that GAC mode that I just described or whether it's in Squad Arena. I'd like for us to be able to activate, say, hey, I'd like this battle to be to be like it's in Grand Arena, and I'd like my Grand Arena Omicrons to be active for this battle. That way, we can actually get good testing in and figure out exactly how to fine tune our squads for that mode. Same thing with Territory War Omicrons, obviously, and for TB Omicrons. I don't think there's a big necessity for that, but obviously, certain theory crafters and content creators would like that as well. So those are some of the things that I think CG could possibly implement that I would like to see, and let's see what 2022 has in store. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised by the amount of cool content that CG will be able to bring to us now that they've made this giant change.
Lab,
Agreed.
your challenge. What if you could challenge somebody and you could each like wager something on it too, like whether it be gear or something. So like, hey, I could challenge you, and I could say, hey, we're playing for so and so pieces of gear or whatever.
So I would love that, but that will never happen.
That
And
would be
the reason,
abused so easily.
yeah, the reason it won't is because people will make farm accounts and they'll just farm certain pieces of gear and then challenge, their alt account and basically use it as a gear funnel. So that will never happen, but it would be really cool if it could. Oh, and
Yeah.
you know what? You just reminded me of the other thing that I want. And that is, I don't think that CG is going to actually give us any sort of formal skill rating that we can see. And that is a bummer because in the old GAC, we had rankings for you every season. Like you could fight for rank number 1 on the leaderboard in your
Mhm.
division and kind of like use it as a measuring stick of sorts. And I don't think they're going to have anything like that. And that is a big bummer because, how else are you supposed to know that you're better than your guildmate? Like that's
Lab
isn't that
likes
the
to
whole point of
flex.
playing?
Premier Kyber League champion.
Yes, Lab always wants to know that he's kicking everyone else.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad I left you for last, Lab. That was a great way to start winding down this conversation. I'm going to open it up for any random comments as we head into the Christmas season. I want to tell everyone here, happy holidays. Looking forward to December. It's always the most chill month of the year. Uh, I'm glad I've been able to play with all of you all in this great game as long as I have been able to. Thank you so much for joining these chats and being a part of this podcast and being a part of the alliance. Yeah, thank you. Seriously, it's meant a lot to me.
And I don't mean to butt in here, but I do have to run. So let me just say thank you guys, everyone. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for doing the podcast. Appreciate all of you, your contributions to the Alliance, and happy holidays to everyone as well.
I want to just get a poll from everybody, and I guess I don't know if Lab's still on or not, but if maybe before he runs. I need a poll of everybody on here that thinks that when these changes go live, it's going to work seamlessly.
Oh God, no.
Not a chance. Not a
Okay,
chance.
just making sure we all understand what we're up against here in the near future.
Yeah, right now, I'm just hoping the first GAC doesn't get canceled and restart.
Maybe
That's my
maybe we
goal.
should have a maybe we should have a friendly like over under as to what the quote make good crystals are going to be for everybody when they screw it up the first time.
Right?
Yeah, not a bet I'm willing to take. So
3 chewy shards.
yeah.
Shards.
Well, thank you all for joining, and it's been, I think, a great episode. Hopefully, everyone enjoys it. Appreciate again everyone participating. Hopefully, others find this useful. And good night.